Hi everyone, I'm Alex Wong, the creator of the Story of Community, and welcome to the Epilogue. Every Wednesday for the last 7 weeks, I've been chatting with some of my fellow community podcasters about their experience as longtime community fans, which I, as someone who first watched the show in 2019, am not. I really sped through the intro that time. Here with me today is the entire panel. Adam from Apartment 303, Kevin from Advanced Community Studies, Alex from Six Seasons, Ed from Say Greendale Community, and Matt from the community's Twitter handle. Hello, everyone.
Alex.
Ooh.
Today we're talking about episode 7, 2015 to 2020, where I tell the story of the end of the show and the quest for a movie. So the first question for anyone who's interested is, when the show ended, did you think a movie was inevitable?
Still don't know if it is.
Yeah.
It has not
just
been
easier to
proven
pretend
inevitable.
it
It
is.
has
I want you to be in like the frame of mind of like right after it ended, like June 2015. You just or
Sure.
I guess June
At the
2015.
moment that last episode aired, and I watched that episode for the rest of the month every day, which I don't recommend anybody who's emotionally attached to broadcast television. When I thought it was incredibly possible, mostly because I just wanted it. Shows have a really hard time of pulling off what they had pulled off to start with, and they limped over that finish line to get to 6 seasons. So the idea that they would actually get to an actual movie was, at the time it was a pipe dream, but I mean, it was something we really hoped for. I mean, I know when I watched the finale, I thought it was possible. I didn't know Dan sounded really, really burned out, but I was hopeful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed possible, but it also seemed, with the way that last episode ends with like Annie and Abed going off to be on other television programs, it felt like it felt like it would definitely be a while if it happened at all, and so few shows have been able to turn that around. It's like, what, Star Trek, Firefly, and like Psych are the only ones I can name off the top of my head that have like produced a film after they closed. I'm sure I'm missing something obvious and someone will smack me down.
But something pretty horrible. Yeah, you're talking about something that was on a channel you don't pay for, or
Downton Abbey. Hello, 6 seasons and a movie.
Downton Abbey.
Yeah, but there wasn't. How long was like the break there? Because I feel like the big thing is gonna be
not long.
Yeah, because I feel like the big thing is going to be if it does happen, is going to be that it's been now 6 years since the show's been off air, and realistically, it'll probably be like 10 years or more by the time it happens. So,
sure.
I think
Gilliam
everyone's getting more popular. So
Gilliam was heading off to do Love. Danny was about to do Powerless. That's why he's not there for the reason wedding videography exists the way it does is because Danny needed off for the pilot for Powerless. So which they ruined side stuff.
I wanted to like that show so badly.
Talked to Jen. She saw the original pilot as intended at Comic-Con, and she said it was great. And then NBC did something to it and ruined it. She's never really
surprise.
First time that has ever happened.
I've never heard of NBC getting something wrong with the comedy before, so that was completely newsworthy. No, and they changed it, made it more comical. Danny was originally meant to be the love interest for the lead character, so there was a more tension there. They're more adult to some degree, and they dumbed it down.
Welcome back to Powerless Talk, where we're talking Powerless.
No, so there's, in the next year, the answer was no. There was not going to be a movie in the next year. Could there be a movie in 2 to 3? Yeah, and what you wanted was those characters that you just had to be popular enough where people would pay attention to. I mean, of course, Donald goes off into Atlanta, and that's just there's no place Donald's not popular when it comes to media. So you have these characters explode. We don't know what's going to happen with the rest of them. Jim Rash has won an Academy Award, so he has quality time of writing that's in front of him that you really want to see him do more of. So there are reasons they're going to be busy, but we just didn't know what was going to happen next, and it wasn't going to happen that year, but afterwards, I mean, it's different now, but right afterwards, there was a reason to hope. It may not have been great, but there was a sparkle left. You don't end with that hashtag.
Yep.
And a movie without saying that's something you want it to be a part of. Dan's completing what he has said before by putting that out there. It's a throwaway line when they first use it. It's completely throwaway. It's not intended to be the hashtag for the show. It's a throwaway line. And then it becomes the hashtag for the show, and he ends it by changing it to end the movie. That is saying that's the plan. And until, he says that's over, that's the plan. Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, oh yeah. It's honestly 5 years down the line, it seems hard to. I mean, I guess if anything, now would be the time because I think people are a little more free. But yeah, if everything had gone just normal without Netflix and everything, it's hard to imagine how it would have happened.
Without Netflix, I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
You don't think it would be a Peacock original? I'm only half joking because they are starting to do a bit more original content. I mean, I know the show's, as far as I know, the show is owned with Sony, and NBC doesn't have a claim to it anymore. So they could go to Netflix, they could go wherever, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, they have slightly more of a built-in audience, I guess, because the NBC loyalists. But
yeah,
Peacock could, Peacock on the pony up on money. I wouldn't say no to them. I just don't think they're. I just don't think they're the ones ultimately. I think Netflix is the most obvious choice, or Hulu.
Yeah,
sure.
Mostly because the people that would be involved are really tied to particularly Netflix. With Donald at Prime, you could make an argument that Prime may have an interest to do it. So, at the earliest, it could be the end of this year, in the next year, I think. But that's as fast as it could ever be started, given what everybody's doing right now.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys about. Oh, sorry.
No, I just made it. I
derailed us for a Quibi joke.
Derailed for Quibi, which was their business strategy. Go ahead, Alex.
Okay. I also was curious how, because from you guys, I can really only hear this from you all. How is the fan base different from what it was in 2015?
It's younger.
It's much younger.
It's much. I mean, Community I think always skewed young, but now it's 15-year-olds obsessed with Abed who were 10 when the show ended. So they couldn't have seen the show until now. And then Netflix, now it's on Netflix, it exists. Now it's a show that is existent. So it's definitely younger. It's a lot of, I don't know. Anyway, I'm trailing off. Go ahead.
It's significantly larger too. It's I'm sure there is a way to measure it, not the Nielsen ratings, of course, but
Community's followers. I think that's probably one.
We were at 5,000 or so, 5,200 followers the month before the 10th anniversary in Paley Fest. It started to jump, mostly because Yvette and a couple others retweeted us repeatedly right around that time for a rewatch of the pilot. And by the time we had our conversation with our train wreck of a conversation with McKenna and Joe McHale, we were hovering around 8,000 and we're almost at 16,000 now. That's what, if you're looking for a measure, we've tripled. That's as the oldest of the fan accounts, we've tripled. I think that's Netflix for a large part of it, but it's also hitting the anniversary and having an opportunity just to talk about it again. You went from 5,000 to 8,000
podcasts
in about 6 or 7 months.
Podcast. 5,000 to 6,000 podcasts. Yeah.
There was no technically there were 2 podcasts I didn't know about at the beginning of 2019, and one of them faded out. The other ones was still going. I didn't know about them. And then when you get to April, there's 7. And they're unique and different and good. And there's a tweet I saw somebody remind me. There was a tweet that I sent out like, "Hey, there's 6 podcasts, and welcome to Greendale." Response to it was like 7, because I didn't even know they were out there. So yeah, this is a more dynamic group than we had before. I mean, look, The core in 2009 and 2010 through about 2012, that is those are the rabbit ones. They were the ones who made stuff happen. That's where you have people like Catherine, who's referred to as Cat often. She's in front of Rockefeller Center with her violin playing the theme song. She's by herself to start with. That's when you have, when it's pulled off the air after the regional musical, that's when you have people showing up in New York and Los Angeles with felt goatees and singing made up songs and meeting and showing up in Manhattan. They made videos of it. Those people were alone and doing, they could make Community trend just by the volume of their efforts. That was an impressive group. And what the community's account was created to do was to help organize them a little better. That's literally our original, purpose. So, the fan base, while it was on air, the first 3 seasons is, those are the ones I appreciate the most. But the ones we have now, there's more fan art now than I've ever seen before. There is more, and there's tons of fan fiction for, just if you're interested, it's out there. There's more people watching the show with a critical eye and finding stuff I've never seen. And I've seen this show so many times, I don't remember how many times I've watched every episode. I mean, there's people still finding this stuff. Somebody found something this week I'd never seen before. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing. So I think in some ways this fandom is better than it's been before. And I'm thrilled.
I mean, Chance the Rapper tweeted that he wanted to go to Greendale, so that says something too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous what's happened with the fan base and the people who are interested in the show and have watched it. And it's still going.
So to wrap us up, I wanted to give you one sentence to say, and not a minute long sentence. What does Community mean to you?
I can't imagine another piece of pop culture coming along that means as much to me as Community does.
It's a place of belonging. It's a place of acceptance. And it's true because of the community that sprung up from Community as of the fandom. So I think a show has begotten a community of in itself that has been loving and accepting and just so fun to be a part of.
Along those lines, I'll say that the characters as well as the fan base are my best friends.
Yeah, I like I said in my first time on this show, I started watching the show when I was like 12 years old, and it's literally been there pretty much my entire life. So what it means to me has changed every year and will continue to change every year, probably for the rest of my life.
I don't know if I've got the words for it. It really, this show has created a chosen family of sorts for me personally, and has given me a group of people I never would have met otherwise. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to sound a hell of a lot like the dean at the end of documentary filmmaking Redux, where he's just bawling because this group of people that I've met through it, and I'm saying this with all earnest, the fandom is the best part of this show, and I can't say that about most shows. They're the best part, and it's a great epic television show, but the fandom is the best part, and I love them.
I think we all do. And that's going to do it for the final episode of the Epilogue. Thank you so much to our podcaster panel for joining me on this journey. It's been really fun getting to talk to you guys, and I hope it brought back some memories, good or bad. As always, you can find links to all their podcasts and more at bit.ly/thestoryofcommunity, no spaces. And a huge thank you to all the listeners out there. It was an absolute delight making this podcast. It took a while, but glad it's done. And I'm glad I could share it with all of you. And for Adam, Kevin, Alex, Ed, and Matt, thank you so much for listening. I'm Alex Wong, and that's a series wrap on the story of Community.